Welcome to an introduction to accounting and to spreadsheets. In this short podcast we're going to introduce you to the use of some of the more common formulae. We have here a sequence of numbers and we've already met the obvious one, which is adding them up. So we can say equals the sum of, and then if I just select my range of cells, there we are, I've got the sum of those. If I want to look at some of the other operations, if I want to square something, let's say I want to take the number 128 and square it, I can say that equals that cell, and then I look for the little arrow going upwards, which means to the power of, and if I put a 2 in, that will square it. So that's 128 squared. Now, supposing I want to do the reverse of that, and I'm going to look at this number, 256, and I want the square root of it. This is equal to, select the cell, and then I start off in the same way. I use to the power of, little arrow going upwards, then I open some parentheses, and then I put in the fraction a half, right? So it's 1 over 2, and the 2 bit is the square root bit that I'm looking for. So there we are, the square root of 256 is 16. Right, supposing I want to look at these numbers and carry out a series of operations, and the first of which I'm going to say equals the 128 plus the 256 multiplied by, that's the asterisk, 3, which is that one. Right, how do I actually know what it's done? Let me go back to that. In other words, which did it add up for, right? In order to find that out, or to be clear, I'm going to do this for you. Equals, and I'm going to put in parentheses, that plus 256 plus multiplied by, I think it was the 3, right? And I've got a very different answer there, haven't I? See, B11 plus B12 multiplied by 113, whereas this was B11 plus B12 multiplied by A13. And the reason for that is it will multiply or divide before it does addition or subtraction. So in this case what it did was multiplied those two and then added it to that, whereas here what it did was added those two and then multiplied by that. So if I wanted to get back to this one, we should say that it equals that plus, and then this is what we believe it did. You see, it took that sum, the 256, multiplied by the 3, and I get my 896. So it's just to remind you of that. What this did was it took two numbers, multiplied them together, then added. So to make it clearer, I put the two numbers that it multiplied by together, and I put them in parentheses, and then the number that it added. So remember, the order of operations is that it will always do a multiply or divide before it does addition or subtraction. Now I'm going to clear off part of that. Here we are. And by the way, to clear you can use the delete key, but there are other ways of doing it. Right, if we look at this one I've got here, I've got the sum of the column, and if I look here I've got the sum of the row, and if I look here I've got the sum of the range. Now what I can also do here is I can take that sum of the column, I can look for the little black handle, that's a little box in the corner, I can drag the formula across and it will give me the sum of that column and of that column. I can do the same here. It added those three on that row, and if I look for the little black handle and drag the little black handle down, I can sum in that way as well. We also remind you that we can put borders around these to make them clearer. So I can put a series of borders on there by selecting them all and then going to format the cells and take the border and make sure I've got my grid lines going down and across. Okay. And that is obviously the first step we take to making the formatting of a sheet look much easier to read, and it is needed for printing as well. So there's something on the operations and the order in which operations are taken out. Another way of using the sum and of dragging the little handle on the box there, and of making sure we can format parts of a sheet by putting a border around. Thank you.